There are two types of entrepreneurs. Knowing which one you are and which one you aren't are absolutely fundamental and critical to not only your initial success, but particularly to your sustained success. We need to have self-awareness, team. You need to know who you are and who you aren't. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly that. As the founder CEO of a high growth business, it's critically important that you have a high degree of self-awareness, understanding who you are, what kind of entrepreneur you are, what kind of strengths you have, when those strengths goes too far and become a weakness, what kind of weaknesses you have, and how can you best hide your weaknesses, or at the very least be aware of them so you can mitigate and manage them. This topic is critical for any entrepreneur who is rising to the top of their game and wants to be an effective founder and CEO. Huge shout out to Gino Wickman for the models that we're going to be talking about in today's video. So essentially, team, there are two kinds of entrepreneurs. The first kind of entrepreneur is called a visionary entrepreneur. And this is typically about 80% of entrepreneurs. Now, the characteristics of a visionary entrepreneur is typically they see the future. They have a pulse on the market. They have a pulse on consumer. They understand the future needs of the customer. They think strategically, and a visionary is able to connect the macro dots, be they where is the market going, what's going on in the hearts and minds of our consumer, and how is that progressing, where is world's best practice in terms of developing great products or services in this space. And they're able to connect all of these dots to develop a vision for the future in terms of what is their company becoming. They're good at generating ideas. Visionaries have a lot of ideas. Many are not good. Some are okay, but a few are brilliant, right? Generally speaking, the visionary is creative. They tend to communicate visually, either with arms, like I do a lot of the time, or with whiteboards or with slides. But generally, visionaries think in a visual way and will therefore communicate visually a lot of the time. They see the big picture. So visionaries love big problems, big ideas. They get bored and less effective when pulled into the details. And so they hold and reiterate the vision. They go where big picture thinking is necessary. Now, as your organization grows, big picture thinking is necessary in a lot of different places. How this manifests is you might set up great, let's call it a great marketing funnel, great marketing process, and maybe even a marketing team. And that marketing team will be really effective and really efficient, maybe for 6, 12, 24 months. However, you get to a point where the market has changed and the marketing performance is going down. Often the visionary needs to come into that department, break the structure that exists to build a fresh strategy. That's often what the visionary does. They go where big picture thinking is necessary and where alchemy is needing to occur. What visionaries aren't. Visionaries aren't focused, right? They get bored easily. They can be very energized in one direction for up to 90 days, and 90 days is generous. They're not good in sustain, maintain. So your visionaries, typical entrepreneur, really good when it's come in, it's blank canvas, there are limited resources, and so the person heading up needs to be incredibly resourceful. And on this blank canvas, they're painting, they're alchemizing, they're creating something out of nothing, they're figuring it out. It's about innovation, it's about creating something new. When it stops being about that and starts being about processes, KPIs, sustain, maintain, the visionary checks out. The visionary is no longer the best person to be driving that particular project or even driving that particular business once the business gets to that point. Visionaries have too many ideas, right? So they love breaking the mold. Their wish list is often bigger than their resources. They want to do everything and they think they can do it in the next month, whereas realistically it's probably going to take 6 to 12. And they're often impulsive, right? Often visionaries cause organizational whiplash. What's organizational whiplash? Organizational whiplash is where a visionary is charging in one direction. Everybody, we're going in this direction. We're doing this. It's amazing. This is where the market's going. This is where the consumer's going. I've had this brilliant idea. Follow me. And everybody runs in one particular direction because as a visionary, people love following you. But then as a visionary, 30 days down the track, you think, hold on, stop. I know I said we're going in that direction. I've had a better idea, now we're going in that direction. So everybody has to turn and now we're going off in a different direction. Guys, I know we're going in that direction, but my soul tells me we're actually going in this direction. Charge in this direction. So everybody runs in that direction as fast as possible. Then 30, 40, 60 days passes. It's like, stop. I know I said the soul thing, but actually we need to go in that direction. And organizational whiplash occurs because of the impulsive nature of the visionary. Now, if you're a visionary, I am visionary off the charts. If you're visionary, the impulsive nature is not a bad thing. It's one of your biggest strengths. However, we need to be aware of it and we need to manage it, right? That's organizational whiplash. People are following you and sudden changes in direction is what causes that. Visionaries are not detailed. They have a challenge in communicating the detail of their vision. They're dismissive often of those that don't get it because as a visionary, your vision is so clear in your head and where you're going is so clear in your head. Often as visionaries, the future state that we envisage in our mind is more real to us than the present state called reality. Right? And so often we can forget, we come in the office and in my instance, we've got a team of about 50 people in the entourage. Often the visionary can forget that these 50 people, most of their time is spent doing things today and for next week and for next month. Whereas the visionary, you're always thinking 6, 12, 24 months, maybe 5 years ahead. And so we often under-communicate our vision because it's so clear in our mind, we forget that it might not be so clear in the minds of others. Problems of a visionary. Path in terms of future planning. There's not enough clarity of direction in terms of where the organization is going because the visionary tends to chop and change so much. People. Everyone's not on the same page because they've probably got contradictory directives and because of the lack of communication that's coming from the visionary, nobody's really deeply or thoroughly clear on being aligned to one particular direction. Process. The visionary is in control of their business. Often the business has outgrown their ability to stay across everything and profit. There simply isn't enough of it because there hasn't been enough foundation built or detail or rigor built. Again, it's an impulsive, relatively immature business when it's run by a visionary that doesn't know they're a visionary and isn't aware of their visionariness, then they're going to be your problems. Now, a genius in the wrong position looks like a fool. Being a visionary is a gift. Visionaries are what push the world forward. However, a genius in the wrong position looks like a fool. If you are a visionary, you need to make sure you surround yourself with an integrator or a team of integrators. So 80% of entrepreneurs are visionaries, about 20% are integrators. Now, if you are a visionary, you might want to think about, if you're in the seed stage, you might want to have an admin assistant as an integrator. If you're in the startup stage, you might want to have an operations manager as an integrator. If you're in the scale stage doing $1 million plus, you might want to have a general manager or even a CEO, somebody that manages the business and is accountable to the performance of the organization while you go out and build the future. Often visionaries are quite outside focused and integrators are quite inside focused. So what are the characteristics of an integrator? They're good at the day-to-day, right? So in contrast to visionaries, the integrator is very good at leading, managing, and holding people accountable. They operate at a more detailed level. They are good with sustain, maintain. When it's about optimization, developing projects, and driving projects through to completion, integrators shine. Characteristics of an integrator. They're a steady force. They're obsessed with organizational clarity and making sure things make sense. They're good at driving things through to completion. A good visionary will integrate harmoniously the different functions of an organization and get the engine running beautifully. If you can think of a visionary as an architect, often the integrator is the builder. Right? A visionary without a good integrator or a visionary without a good team of integrators can often have a lot of great dreams that sound good, but there's often a problem with execution. A great integrator is a great executor. Characteristics of an integrator, the voice of reason. So they filter the visionaries' ideas, ensuring cohesion and cohesion and direction from the leadership team down. Meaning, that whiplash that we spoke about earlier with visionaries, you want to have an integrator that anchors you. And often, incorrectly, the visionary can think the integrator is like glass half empty and why are you being so pessimistic? They're not. They're just conscious of resources and conscious of timelines and know what the team is capable of in what timeframes with the current resources. And so therefore, you need to have an integrator or several integrators that you trust enough and have enough respect for and have enough ownership to anchor the ideas of the visionary. They should be visionary Prozac, if you like, and prioritize in a way that's considerate of realistic timeframes and resources. What visionaries aren't, integrators aren't. They might not hold an inspiring dream for the future. Often integrators are so focused on perfecting the business model as they should be and so focused on execution, often in the immediate to short term, that they may not hold a vision for the future. The future may not be clearly defined in terms of inspiring targets and goals off into the future that inspire and corral people. Integrators are so inspired just by the work itself that they get enough satisfaction from that and assume other people do too, and so may not hold an inspiring dream for the future. Typically speaking, they're not optimistic. This is the strength of the integrator, because as the visionary, you're off the charts optimistic. Your optimism needs to be grounded, right? And so integrators may be seen as glass half empty. A good integrator should poke holes and point out gaps in the thinking of the visionary, right? That's what they're really great at doing. And we'll know when an idea doesn't fit or the timing isn't right. Often integrators aren't good at letting go, so they'll assume responsibility for every task, for every project. They feel the need to be very hands-on. They'll be very entrenched in the detail. So generally speaking, your visionaries are your right-brain people. They're highly emotive, they're highly empathetic, they're highly optimistic. They're good at dreaming, they're good at envisaging things that don't exist yet. And generally speaking, your integrators will be more left brain type people, more analytical, more measured, more dependable, more reliable, and incredibly effective at execution. Now, you might be a visionary, you might be an integrator. One is not better than the other. It's not about good, bad, better, worse, none of that. It's about knowing who you are so you can firstly amplify your strengths, manage your weaknesses, and surround yourself with people who cover your weaknesses. So what kind of entrepreneur are you? Are you a visionary? Are you an integrator? Or are you a combination of both? Again, if you're a visionary, harness your visionariness. And if you're in the seed stage, get an integrator that's an admin assistant. If you're startup stage, get an integrator that's an ops manager. If you're $1 million plus, get an integrator that's a general manager or a CEO, somebody that can operationalize your business while you do what you do best, which is ultimately architecting the future. This is absolutely key, team. You have to understand what kind of entrepreneur are you, what kind of operator are you, and when you do, or when you can get the visionary integrator relationship to click into place, that is when your business absolutely takes off. Have fun with it.